They knew that we had given up our lives to come entertain them. That was very important.
So in the Army is where I started learning to play guitar. So that's how I was getting back into music in the Army for the most part.
My taste in music has changed quite a bit from before I joined, during, I listened to certain things, and then after.
I started playing the violin at 5 years old in an oil boom town in West Texas. And I knew immediately that that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life.
I started serving when I was 27 in 2005. Completed my active duty time in 2010 and did another 3 years in the National Guard and Reserves, finishing up my time in 2013.
I was a Navy corpsman, which means not only am I with the Navy, but I'm also with the Marines as well. I was always with the wounded, always. That's my job as the corpsman.
Everybody was united, and everybody wanted to have some part to play in the war. I mean, housewives took jobs in defense plants. Everybody wanted to do something. I mean, whether they knitted socks for the soldiers. And many, many students in Juilliard took leave of absence to go on USO tours, but they were all with shows. Ours was the only, I organized a string quartet of 4 girls, and we were going to play for the wounded soldiers only.
If we were getting ready to go on mission, I would usually listen to one of 2 types of music. I listened to a lot of, for lack of a better word, contemporary Christian music or Christian rock. It was the best of both worlds. So you had the Christian rock, that driving rock beat, words of encouragement in the music. So I would listen to that a lot, usually probably walking over to the truck. When we get there and get the truck ready to go, turn on the music, put my headphones in, and start to get prepared for the mission. When I was back in my tent or at my cot, a lot of times I listened to the things that I listened to as a child. So I listened to a lot of classical music and a lot of jazz, just because it had a calming effect for me and it helped me to kind of get in the right frame of mind.
Billie Holiday a lot, Nina Simone a lot. Of course, not like pop stuff, but older women who sung about definitely something, life experience, something that had to do with what I was going through. And it was like a motherly thing where hearing a man, hearing aggression was not something I was in the mood for. I needed to feel, home. I needed to feel a lot more of gentleness.
This was a conscious decision that if we were going to play only for wounded soldiers, it was going to have to be familiar tunes. I was 18. I joined Juilliard when I was 17, and then at the end of my 2nd year, we left in the spring and came back at Christmas. Yes, I remember very well the first time I had to play for the wounded soldiers, because it was one of the most difficult, because it was in Honolulu where the serious cases were. And when I took one look around at the wounded, I thought, this is going to be one of the most difficult days of my life, seeing these wounded. And still, I get heartbreak and goosebumps when I see wounded soldiers.
Nobody can prepare themselves for things like that. Especially in America, we're so well taken care of. People don't understand.
I will forever always part of me will be a soldier forever. I mean, because that I will have those experiences and I'll carry those experiences to the grave.
You know, at any moment, anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
There's a saying in show business that the show must go on. And the show must go on regardless of what you're feeling, what you're seeing, what's happening. The show must go on. And that was our motto. So whenever we played the show, no matter how we felt, the show went on.
Music for me has always had an emotional attachment. So for me, music will either remind me of people or experiences or places. And so whenever I was overseas in that combat zone, away, I took 10 months before I went on leave, so being away from my wife for 10 months. Listening to music that we listened to together or things I grew up listening to helped kind of bring that piece of home back to me and allow me to have some comfort there. It's almost like having her there with me even though she wasn't.
These are actually the headphones that I had throughout my career. This is them. They still work, just like they always did. I would just put my headphones and think and feel. The music definitely tells a lot of my story as far as, and it just reminds you. It's like smells. You can't forget it. You can't block. You can't, you know, I could be at the park and hear some car drive by and play a certain song, and I can't help to think of the image that comes to mind or the smell or what I went through during that time. You can't hide yourself from that. You can't shield that. There's no protection. So that shoots right down inside you every time.
Some music does bring up memories of, you know, times where we've lost people, where people got hurt. But I can still listen to it and process that, I think, in a healthy way. And I'm very thankful that I can do that because it's such a big part of my life. I think it would be like losing part of who I was if I couldn't do that.
Classical music's the only music genre or type that I've been able to just keep going with because it's the positive side. It's the, okay, you're healing now side where you bring out the good and it brings out that goodness and it reminds me of the past in a good way.
That's the important thing of your life at the time, and that's the only thing you care about, is to do your part. And it was a great pleasure to be able to do my part.